The story that's dominated everything this week, of course, is the Huw Edwards story. But for the first few days, even though his name was all over the internet, plus one or two pictures, we weren't allowed to say it. Was that right? Was it wrong? Joining me is Jim Davidson, comedian, former host of the Generation Game, and of course now running a very successful Ustream channel. Jim joins me from Torquay. Jim, you went through all of this, didn't you? You were arrested. You went through murder, and there was a presumption that you were guilty, and you had to prove your innocence. In the light of that, wasn't it right earlier in this week that Edwards wasn't named?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think he wasn't named because the various people in the media were frightened to name someone because they were actually getting this story out there before all the facts were there. It's a sad story, Nigel. It's very sad. And I don't think we know the half of it. I mean, if you look online, everyone is now an expert, apart from all the jokes that's going around. But everyone has an idea. Is it a girl? Is it a boy? What did he do? But the fact is now that the police have said he did not break the law, and now he is in a mental institution and will be suffering probably terrible shame. And yes, mental illness. I went through this for a year. I was arrested, but never charged. And I always remember these words as I was walked to the police station. It was still scary. This policeman said, "Don't worry, Jim. Yours is not underage sex. Yours was just a bunch of old slappers." And I thought, oh, well, fair enough. It's taken the pain away a bit. But the pain does not go. It's not knowing what other people are doing. You watch, Nigel. I'm down here in Torquay. I've got fish and chips today, and I threw a bit on the floor that wasn't very nice. And 1 million seagulls turned up and devoured it. That's what's going to happen now. Everyone's going to want a bit of this story for their own reasons.
Jim, tell us, did it really have a bad effect on you?
Well, actually, I wrote a book about it, and because Cliff Richard and everyone said we're going to sue the police, we're going to do this, and Paul Gambaccini was very upset, and I didn't think the police behaved badly for me because at the end there was no further action, and I was never ever charged. But I wouldn't want to go through it again. It's slightly different now. I mean, I was accused of breaking the law. He's not been accused of breaking the law, but it's just the accusation, I think, that's done the damage. And at the end of the day, the Sun newspaper, which I quite love, I think it's great fun. And I saw Neil Wallace with you last night. Yeah. They'll just wring their hands and wait for the next little tidbit, and they won't care. They'll put that story away and they'll get on with the next one. It's a bit much when the Sun are the moral guardians of our country, Nigel.
I know, but Jim, be honest about it. Anybody in the public eye, hasn't it always been a bit like that?
Yes, I think it is. Me and my lawyer, Henry Bramman, used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go and get the newspapers to find if I could go home to the current wife. I mean, it was crazy. But you would think that Mr. Edwards, who I don't know, it's going to be more current wives as well going. I think you've got to watch yourself. Everyone's a reporter. Everyone's a conspiracy. What if it's true? And I say if with a capital I. If these stories are true, then he was foolish. He has made a mistake. And I just think it's sad. It's sad for his wife. I mean, she's been ridiculed now, and it's just so sad.
No, I mean, Jim, we don't know the full facts of this.
Not being charged. The kid said he didn't do it, and the Sun print it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the full facts. But a final thought on how have the BBC handled all of this?
Well, I'm not sure how the BBC I don't understand why the BBC have to be involved. If it was a dustman that was doing it, would you phone up the corporation and say, "Oh, Bert the dustman's been sending pictures of his Fathers to my boy"? I really don't know. I think the BBC,
come on,
is
Huw Edwards
between the rock and a hard place.
Huw Edwards, he's been the modern day Dimbleby, hasn't he? The face of the BBC, the announcement of the Queen's death, the coronation. He is a public figure. That's the difference, isn't it?
Well, it is. And people say that he is paid through public money. Well, I don't buy that, really. He gets paid for the job he did. And as you know, Nigel, he was very good at what he did. Yeah. And now the allegation is the money that went to this person, this young person, has been spent on drugs. Well, how would Huw Edwards, if he did, in fact, give this money, how would he know on control what that money was spent on? I mean, it's crazy. It's a witch hunt, and we've had enough of this now, I think.
All right.